he's not live singing, but it's the, it's the sound of him singing, and it's his voice. Like they're hearing it on the radio or in their car or on their phone or something. And it makes that much of an impact. It's pretty awesome.
Awesome is the perfect word.
It's not over yet.
Nobody thought it would be possible that Randy would be putting out new music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When did that even come about?
Wow, that was, let's see, it was about April of 2023. And Chris Lacey from Warner called, and she said, what would y'all think if we gave the world back Randy's voice using AI? And AI is something that we all use all the time. We just don't recognize it as AI, artificial intelligence.
But you knew AI as something else.
Well, I did, but being kind of a country girl from Plano, then AI was, in the livestock, that was artificial insemination. So I was like, whoa, okay. But I'm learning. So don't say that, Joe, and that means I'm going to start saying that. And that's my biggest fear. When we went to Washington and spoke, I was scared to death that I would say that, because that was what rolls off my tongue. But anyway, so she said, what would you think of bringing Randy's voice back to the world using AI? And we were like, I think that's a wonderful idea, and Randy loved the idea. 11 months later, she was working with two gentlemen in London.
Yeah.
Said that they had this program that they thought they could use, and so she said she worked with them to get them. We sent 42 songs.
Yeah,
42 or 44 songs, I can't remember how many, that they sent of his songs, his voice. So they picked the stems, or his voice out of that, using what they call stem cells. Here I go, voice stems, and they laid it on top of a vocal by James Dupre. And I always called it like a clothesline, and younger ones are like, "What's a clothesline?" But anyway, it was like a clothesline, and they just hung Randy's voice over it, and so it was Randy's voice on top of this vocal line that kind of gave it a direction from James Dupre, and worked on it for about 11 months. And then we went back into studio with session players, some that were even on his first Storms of Life album. Went back into studio with session players, engineers, Kyle Lenning, his career-long producer, and of course Chris from Warner, and worked on that line by line, word by word. And
so Randy's voice is probably one of the most unique in all of country music. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I would agree. I think it's one that so many people, they learn from it, starting at a very young age, and we hear that all the time from young artists, that Randy was the one that I would sit, on the foot of my bed and play my guitar and try to sing Randy Travis and sing his style, because he was a teacher, I think, with his voice, and he used it. His inflections, his delivery was poetic. He knew how to pick a song. He knew how to write a song. So a lot of the younger ones learned from him, but they always said, I could never be Randy Travis. I tried so hard. And Randy would always tell them, that's okay, you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be you, which is an encouragement, I think, to the younger ones that are, but it's flattering.
You can replicate how Randy sings, and Kyle said it best. He said, you cannot replicate the soul in which he sings.
True, true.
Is there anybody who sings like you, Randy?
No, I don't think so. He had his own style, and you know, that was just a gift from God. And he said, here's your gift, and I'm going to see what you do with it. And Randy used it to change a lot of lives, touch a lot of lives. His voice is so unique, and it's so beautiful, and we hear it all the time from people. We just flew in from Nashville yesterday. The girls on the plane, the flight crew, the captain, you know, they're all just captivated with his music. And you think that that was 40, 45 years ago, and then you're talking to this young lady that's 23 years old, and she said, my grandmother listened to you, my parents listened to you, I listened to you, my kids listened to you. And you're thinking, that's generational. And that's what makes a legend. Because his music is generational. And people, Randy left his heart. He threaded his heart into every song he ever sang. And I think that's why they stay with us like they do.
Were you ever afraid that this was going to fail? This AI?
We knew that going into it, it was delicate because it's the fear of the unknown. And anything that is that game-changing, telephones, computers, televisions, everything through history that was game-changing, flying, you know, going to the moon, whatever it is, people are like, oh, I don't know, but
Were you that way too?
we knew that it was going to be. We knew that it was going to be a challenge. We knew that people were either going to accept it because they love Randy Travis and love his music and wanted to hear his voice. And we also knew there were the people that are so anti-AI that they would, you know, they would have something negative to say about it.
Once you finally got the sample, how important was it that Randy liked what you heard?
That was most important. If he wasn't happy with it, it wasn't going anywhere. I mean, and Chris Lacey at Warner, the whole team at Warner, and I say the whole team, there was only a precious few of them. I think there was 10 or 11 on that team. And we called it the Pony Cob Project because that was one of his characters' names in one of the movies that he did, Edie and Penn. And they were trying to think of something to keep it kind of undercover because it was such a secret for 11 months. And so it was the Pony Cob team, and nobody knew what in the world that was. And anytime we went to the label, they'd say, well, Pony Cob's in the building. And people were like, who's Pony Cob? But so that was the most important thing, was that Randy was happy with it. And that's why he spent the time he did with Kyle, and that's why Kyle made sure that Randy was happy with every single word, every single syllable, every single inflection, to make sure that that's the way Randy would have sang it if he could have.
Now I'm going to ask you, Randy, and you answer it the best way you can. When you first heard that song, where that came from, how did you feel about that?
Good.
Is that a song that you would put out?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
You would have put that out, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was the measure, is would Randy put this out if he could still sing? So.
When you heard that song for the first time?
I'm just glad nobody saw me when I first heard it. I just started bawling. I just started crying. I couldn't help myself. And probably the first 10 times I heard it, I did the same thing. Because for 11 years I wanted to hear his voice. And I never thought I would get to hear it again. And I did. It was beautiful.
What was that?
It was an answer to prayer. It was beautiful. I just loved hearing his voice. So I got real tickled. I got real emotional about it. It's just what I needed. So,
At a time when Randy probably cannot communicate with you the way he wants to, do you feel like he still can through this?
sure, I do. I think that he can communicate with not just the people around him, but all of his fan base, everybody around the world. And we do hear from people from, we just heard from one, Thailand. They sent a message and said that they just love the new song. Now, it may just have hit Thailand, even though it came out in May, I'm not sure, but we hear it from all over the world. It's just so good to hear Randy Travis's voice again. And I think that the songs that he sings were messages to us. And this is just another case of that, where that came from, about, a man that's in love with, and that's what his were love songs. I mean, even his breakup songs were the one, they made it sound like it was a good idea. It's like, oh man, this is a great idea, let's break up, because of the way he delivered his music. So, he still speaks to people, and his presence speaks to people. It's amazing to me when we walk on the airplane or in the airport, in a restaurant, wherever we are, it's just his presence that people are just, they're so taken with him. They're so, I think it's because he's spoken to their heart long before they ever got to meet him. So, and so many people, they just break down in tears just because they get to meet him, simply because their parents or their grandparents, who may have passed on, gone to heaven, but they still think of Randy, and they relate Randy to those people that mean so much to them.
You two were just in D.C.
Yes.
About AI.
Yes.
Fighting for what?
Fighting for it's the American Fairness Act and Music Fairness Act, AMFA. And it's what that is 90-some years, 100 years, the artists that sing the songs have not been paid to be played on the radio.
No.
They are on every other platform, but not on the radio.
What'd you say, Randy?
No.
No. Yeah. And so,
They didn't get paid anything.
no, they don't get paid anything. People think they do, and we even read articles all the time. I read 2 of them last week that are journalists for music or people that write about music all the time, and they indicate that the artists get paid on the radio for radio play. That's not the case. The writers do, and the publishers do, but the label and the artist don't. And so it's one of those things that maybe it hasn't been changed because people assume that it already happens, but it doesn't. And the radio, and I understand where they're coming from, but the radio says, well, we promote the artist. And that did used to be the case because that was the only place to go for the artists to get their music heard. That's not the case anymore. And now the radio stations don't even play the artist unless they have so many hits on one of the other music outlets, through the computer, on the internet or on your Pandora, on your phone or whatever. And unless that artist has so many hits, then the radio station is not discovering artists anymore.
It wasn't about AI or anything. It was just about music.
Well, they did touch on that when we got through with the American Music Fairness Act. When we got through with that discussion, then Chairman Issa did want to ask about AI, and so we did have a little discussion about, because that is forefront, and there's so much fraud going on with it, and people using his voice, other artists' voices, to manipulate them and make other music, and we're so far behind on any laws to protect the creative. They need to get on top of that, and I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they do, because it's frightening for us. And that's why such a delicate balance for us on this AI song. It's like, how can you be fighting for AI fairness, but here you are making an AI song? Because our AI song had Randy's heart in it, had Randy's input in it, had Randy's approval of it. And the AI songs that are out there that people are creating without the artist's permission, without the artist's involvement, artists that have passed away that have no say so, that's where the line is drawn. So it was a fascinating.
His imprint is in there.
His imprint, his heart, his imprint, everything about it, his approval. And he has lost the ability to sing, through the stroke and now the aphasia. And so if he could sing, that would tickle Randy Travis to death. He would love to sing more than anything in the world. So it's given him back an opportunity to still do what he loves and what he did so well, and it's what he did as well as anyone else that ever created music.
James Dupre.
Yes.
Another man who has that deep, soulful voice. Was a logical fit, right? To be the clothes on the line, right?
He was the line. Randy's voice was the
clothing.
right. Yeah.
What did you think about your choice to have him be the vocals?
Because Randy, we had known James. We met him originally. Well, we hadn't met him yet, but Kyle told us about James, years ago. And he said, you have to listen to this kid he's from Bayou Chico, Louisiana. And we're thinking, well, okay, a Cajun singer. I wonder why Kyle thinks we ought to hear a Cajun singer. So we heard he was on YouTube. And great vocal. But we hear vocalists all the time. But he was so good and had a lot of depth. It was a couple of years later, and a producer called, Kim Hughes, and she and her husband showed up at the front door. Loved him instantly, and she pitched this idea. She had written a short for a movie. And she wanted Randy to play the dad, who was a failing health, old country artist. Ended up finding out he had a son out there in the world, and he wanted to meet his son before he passed away. That son was James in the movie. So they acted together. The first time that we met James, we were down in Central Texas at the Cobb's Ranch, and Randy and James started picking the guitar and singing and trading songs, and it was just this moment of a bonding that was so unexpected, I think, for everybody. But they just sat in the living room. They were just oblivious to anything going around with the setup and the crew and everything. They were just over there making their music. And so they went through that, and James, the more we were around James, the more we loved him. And
what is it he provided? And what is it, how do you feel he is a lot like your husband?
he has a lot of soul in his voice. He has a lot of the melodic tone that Randy has. He appreciates Randy's music. He's loved it. He said, I've listened to it all my life. And he just was a natural fit, I think, when we decided we wanted to do a tour with the music of Randy Travis. Tony Conway said, who would we get to do that? He said, we'd just get different guest artists, and we said, James Dupre. And he was the guy. And he was kind enough to say, well, we'll give it a try. Because it's hard for a young artist to say, I'm going to go see Randy Travis. I can't. We don't want you to be Randy Travis. We just want you to sing his songs. using James Dupre style.
And he said that he did that in a heartbeat. Because he's been singing all your songs since he was
Yeah.
12 years old.
Yeah.
I think he does a beautiful cover of all of these songs, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And he just keeps growing. His voice, he just keeps getting better. You know, he just keeps maturing his voice and his stage presence, and he's so much fun to watch on stage. But love James Dupre. We're very thankful that he would help us keep the music of Randy Travis alive.
This new album, I know the next song is getting to be a little bit harder than the last one. Then the last one took 11 months, right?
True.
So now you're looking for another donor voice, as I understand. And there's some people in the works, as I understand, which is I'm excited for. Why do you think this needs to happen?
Because I don't think AI is a one and out. I don't think it's something that I don't think that we tried and failed. I think that we tried and it had a good showing, and it needs to be, I guess, to show the different elements of AI and where you can go with it. And in this one, using different vocal lines, different people, and you know, to be honest with you, it is very soon to be out. So we've been in the studio. That's part of what we were doing in Nashville, and so it's about ready. Yeah, it's incubated.
Do you realize you were on the cutting edge of something here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like nobody is doing this.
not the way that we're doing it. Not people are afraid of it, like I said, and the people that are out there doing it that shouldn't be doing it it's rampant. There's over, I think, 250,000 songs out there on the internet that are.
Can you tell the difference?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What can you tell?
Mechanical. It'll sound very mechanical, computerized, and especially with his voice. I mean, I think I just know his voice so well. You can tell that's not the way Randy would sing it. That's why it was so important for him to be with Kyle to make sure that every word, every syllable, every vowel, every consonant, everything was sung just the way Randy would sing it, grammatically, phonetically. You can tell.
Kyle was telling me that there was a word that there was a word that James Dupre was getting hung up on that you would say in Louisiana, like it was definitely a diction, like kind of thing, that Randy would never say it this way. You know? And so they had to go back in and sort of redo that or made changes to the meters to make sure that it sounded the way Randy would say that word.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how skillful Kyle is for
A lot.
Nobody knows Kyle's voice. I mean, Randy's voice. Nobody knows Randy's voice, besides Randy, better than Kyle Lenny, because they have spent so many hours in the studio. And
Who knows him second best?
well, Randy first, Kyle second.
And who's third?
Whew.
I don't know.
Not you?
Well, I would say me, but I mean, I don't know, Lib, I guess, because she had heard it for so long, and so I can't necessarily take third position there, but I'm up there.
But when you heard the song,
Oh yeah,
you knew instantly.
Oh,
yeah.
You knew what?
I knew it was Randy Travis. And people will say, well, that's not Randy. Well, it is Randy. That's the part they don't understand. The voice that's on there is not a computer-generated voice. It is Randy Travis's vocal stems that have been planted in that vocal.
It's in its DNA.
It is. I guess we had been in California at Kavanaugh and Kyle's wedding. when Chris and Kyle had finished it. And Kyle had texted us and he had said,
Who's Chris?
Chris Lacey at Warner.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, and they said, well, we've got something we want you to hear. Well, it was 4 or 5 days later before I was even paying attention to text or anything else while we were at the wedding. And when we came home, that was one of the first things we did. And so I called Kyle and I said, okay, we're back from the wedding. What is it you want us to hear? Not even thinking, because it already been 11 months and you just kind of, what is, we were thinking a new song or something, pitching a song or something. He sent that and I opened it up and played it. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, yeah, it was right there at the kitchen island. And
Do you remember what month that was?
That would have been, yes, I do, right after the wedding. So it was first week of February.
What do you think, Randy?
Good. Yeah.
You can't replicate that voice without that being his voice. It's just not duplicatable. Whatever the word is, you can't. It's not describable, but you can't get the tones without that being his voice. So you know that those are his vocal stems that are used, his vocal lines, because you just can't duplicate that with a computer.
What are you thinking in your area?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking it's pretty wonderful. It's pretty awesome what we can do with technology. And Randy and I are probably the least technological, techie people. The kids laugh at us all the time because of our lack of computer savvy and everything. And, you know, we're at 65. You're at that age where we just like things the way they kind of used to be, the simple things, whether it's a car or a phone or, God knows we didn't know what a computer was. But the television, some of those things just, it's like scrambled egg stuff. So, but this is one of those things that I'm so happy that we have artificial intelligence. When it comes to medicine, it's used every single day. The computer, it's every single day. Every time you talk to Siri, every time, you know, it's all AI. But then to get to use it in music so that I could hear that voice again and the world can hear that voice again. And he gets to participate in music again.
Why is it important for you to hear that music?
Why is it important for what?
For you to hear that music.
Because it's the dearest thing in my heart outside of this person and my children and my family and my friends. That's the dearest thing to me is his music. I play his music all the time, over and over, different songs people have never even heard that Randy Travis. But if I'm in the car alone, I'm playing Randy Travis. If Randy's in the car, we're playing Randy Travis until he says, change it, right? He'll say, change it. So, but I love his voice. It keeps me company. And it still speaks to me. Even when Randy can't talk to me, his songs can. So it's very important to me to have those. Because what we lost, we didn't really lose. And he speaks volumes still in his silence. So I love having that music. I'm so happy I still have him. You know, I think here it is, over 11 years now. Well, except for this cold that we've got. But, you know, it's just...
And you get a standing ovation every time that song plays, I hear, in every show, at every show.
Mm-hmm.
James James does the first line,
Mm-hmm.
and then he steps back,
Mm-hmm.
and the crowd just, everybody stands up.
Isn't it amazing?
How does that make you feel when you see Will sing?
Full of pride, I'm just happy. And then I know I'm not alone. Believing that his music is so important to our lives. There's a whole audience of people out there that are still interested in hearing Randy Travis. So I know I'm not alone. And I know it has to make him just well up with, it's got to be exciting for him, because that was the one thing he enjoyed so much with his music, was the energy that the crowd gave him. And when they can hear him singing like that, and he's not live singing, but it's it's the sound of him singing, and it's his voice, like they're hearing it on the radio or in their car or on their phone or something, and it makes that much of an impact. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome is the perfect word.
It's not over yet.
It's not.
Nope.